New cycle, new captain, team in transition on a tough test tour. How will India line up at Leeds? It's the big question this week, and that's the question we're posing on Chatter, where, while we expect some debuts potentially in the Indian side, we also have a Chatter debut for Shashank Kishore, who's flown all the way to the UK. He's so excited for the start of something special. He joins Nagraj Golapudi, Dustin Silgado, the heart and soul of Chatter. You guys can decide who is who. Dustin, let us start with you. How do you expect this new Indian batting lineup to line up at Leeds?
Yeah, so we'll start at the top. I think it's pretty clear now that KL Rahul will be opening with Yashasvi Jaiswal. He opened in Northampton in the tour game and got 100 there. Also, it looks pretty certain that Shubman Gill is going to be the number 4. And then number 5/number 6 will be Karun Nair after his double century at Canterbury. And obviously the other spot is Rishabh Pant, the keeper. And then number 3 is what I think may still be a question mark, Sai Sudarshan or Abhimanyu Iswaran. The indications we were getting when the squad was announced was that Sai Sudarshan was the front runner maybe for that place, but Iswaran has got a couple of 50s for India A during the tour games. So let's ask the man at the ground. Let's ask Nagraj Golapuri what he feels on Sudarshan versus Iswaran, or if I'm wrong about anything else about the batting order.
Enter Nagraj.
He's laid down the ground rules already. Okay. I think I pretty much agree with what Dustin says. Where, as far as Eastburns was Saisu concerned, allow me to call him Saisu. I like that. So I think Saisu number 3, primarily because I think they are well set when the selection was happened and all that, the selectors, and I think even Shubman and Gambhir agreed that probably we should kind of blood this guy. So he is set to, if I have got it right, set to kind of make the debut at Headingley Test debut. So primarily because I think nothing against Eastbourne, but I think that role that they're looking at number 3, they want to kind of give him more a long rope and see where it can. The one person who actually could compete against him for the number 3 slot, if there is I do not know if there is that kind of a thought process happening in the Indian camp, is Karun Nair. So Karun doesn't play 3, then Karun has another slot that he has where he can play is number 6 after Pant.
That is the question around the balance, which will be such a key one. We saw the kind of lineups India were trying to go for in Australia, which did backfire at times. Before we move to that, Shashank, the top 5, are you fairly set? Are you in agreement with what Dustin and Nagaraj are saying?
Yeah, the makeup of the top 5 is kind of pretty clear, but I think the Sai Sudarshan Ishwaran debate, I just want to say that, since 2017, Abhimanyu Ishwaran has been an India A captain for a majority of the time. That's like 8 years. And in these 8 years, I mean, sure, he's had those occasional blips and he's not got the volume of runs for India A. But you can't discount the first class record that he's built up over time, 8,000 runs, 100 first class games, 2,800s. So he's in the system and you believe in him. That's the reason why he's been picked in the squad. He toured Australia, went through the entire series on the bench, was the reserve opener, but then saw Devdutt Padikkal, who wasn't even part of the squad, leapfrogging him into, a spot at number 3 when, India didn't have Rohit Sharma in the first test match at Perth. So he's been around, but he just can't seem to make the next step up. And he scored runs in these 2 India A matches, 2 half centuries. I mean, you can argue that they were 2 low scores in the first innings when the ball was doing something, but he's got the runs in the second innings. So I think he deserves an opportunity to fail, if I can put it that way, having been in the system for so long. And clearly the selectors believe that he's got something to offer. That's why he's there in the squad.
I think there is no denying that he deserves a spot, but at the same time, the manner in which he got out in those first 2 innings will be the issue, will kind of raise the question mark in those kind of conditions, and he got out to a second string attack. There's nothing against Abhimanyu at all, but he himself will admit that he committed those mistakes, and those kind of mistakes in a test match early on in the first inning, some kind of a thing, can kind of hurt the top order.
I think he got out playing a reverse sweep in that first game.
No, he got a reverse sweep. He got out playing outside off. So in the sense like an early on. So that's what. And one LBW, he might be questionable. There was no DRS the first time. But anyway, let's not this debate about that. But I just feel that that's what the selectors, or not the selectors here, the team think tank has to think about.
Right. So that's the top five. The question that now comes at number six is, do India look to play multiple all-rounders or do India look for a specialist batter? That's the first part of the conundrum. Dustin?
No, I think it will be a specialist batter. I think there was just a one test in Australia where they tried the 6, 7, 8 all rounders. I feel quite confident it will be a batter. And then the question will be number 7, number 8. The options that you have is, so again, even in Australia, there was a lot of talk about Nitish Reddy. We've had Moni Mokil come out now and say Nitish Reddy looks good with the ball. He's capable of producing that magic ball. I'm wondering if they are considering maybe Nitish Reddy at 7, with then giving you the option of playing Kuldeep Yadav at 8. Kuldeep Yadav has also been giving interviews to BCCI.TV talking about, how excited he is to bowl in England. The other option, probably the safer option, would be, of course, Jadeja at number 7, your standard overseas all-rounder. And then the question is, do you go for out-and-out pacers, or with Shardul doing well in the intra-squad game, do you give him the number 8 spot? Because he scored 100 in Beckenham in the India intra-squad game, and he's apparently bowled quite well.
I'm not sure if both Nitish and Shardul can play. Definitely, India would want five bowlers. That five bowler combination, three fast bowlers you will have to include. So now who's then and one spinner, which is likely to be Jadeja. I'm not sure about Kuldeep only because I was just looking at the numbers at Leeds. I'm talking strictly about the first test we are talking about. So
Yeah.
Leeds numbers, the spin, it's barely anything. It's like the average is 40. They've picked 7 wickets, etc. But
there was one test where Leach took 10 wickets against New Zealand. I'm just throwing that in.
Yeah. I know it's fair enough. But I'm just thinking also whether they want to expose Kuldeep straight up because Bazball will come at him, and they might not want to kind of him to be under pressure straight up. So I feel that the thing would be between Nitish and Shardul, and I feel Shardul as a bowler. This is based again on observations here. Shardul as a bowler pips Nitish the bowler. Whether Nitish the batter is still like the manner in which he got out again is a question mark. But at the same time, if, as Dustin was saying, if they lean towards an extra batter, they're already like, if you play Karun at 6 and Jaddu at 7, do you need Nitish? Then do you need another batter? You obviously don't want. You want a seam bowling all rounder, and that's why I feel in my book it's Shardul who will take the thing and the three other fast bowlers.
Yeah, and we saw the flip side of going batting heavy, thinking you have notional bowling options in the last test India played in Sydney, where you had Jadeja, Washington Sundar, and Reddy at 6, 7, and 8. But there weren't a lot of overs between Washington and Reddy. So, Shashank, does that tip the scales in Shardul Thakur's favor?
I mean, after the end of the Australia tour, it almost seemed a done deal that Nitish would be a regular starter in the 11 and number 6 or number 7. But since then, he's had an injury. He's not been the same cricketer and a package as an all-rounder. Since then, he's had a pretty poor IPL. He couldn't score a lot of runs, didn't bowl a lot of overs, and only started bowling towards the back end of the season. As Naga pointed out, the manner of dismissals in the A matches prior to this kind of didn't help him. He didn't look the same confident self that you saw at the MCG when he made that 100. So as a batter, does Nitish come into the top 6? I'm not entirely sure. So purely on that front, I think Karun Nair at number 6, Jadeja at 7, and then on current form, Shardul Thakur at 8. It's quite a story, isn't it? I mean, he wasn't given a central contract. Everything pointed to the fact that Shardul was on the outside. I mean, and he wasn't given a contract because they didn't see him in the plans. And for him to have gone to the Ranji Trophy, done exceedingly well for Mumbai, both with the bat and the ball at different times during the campaign, I think speaks volumes for the kind of cricketer that he is. And he's also got a record of history of good performances in England, both as a wicket taker and also with the bat on the previous tour. So all those things point to Shardul at number 8 for sure.
I mean, the one other option I had in mind, which is something India has done only once in recent times in the Lord's Test in 2021, is to just go your 4 best seamers after Jadeja and forget about the depth in batting. And then you would probably be going Bumrah, Siraj, Prasidh, Arshdeep maybe, But considering Shardul has got this 100 and done well with the ball, I also think it will be Shardul now in that number 8 spot, and then the 3 best fast bowlers.
And that's kind of a thing that worked in lots because there was batting experience at the top. Right now, with the kind of batters that India are going with, that would be a slightly they'll put themselves in a vulnerable position, they might think.
And it was also England pre-Bazball. We've seen surfaces have not been as menacing in the Tests England have played at home. I'm not counting the WTC final. That was a different affair altogether. So we're left with the three pacers. Jasprit Bumrah is supposed to play three tests. Is he certain to play the Leeds test, Nagaraj?
Yeah, as of today, yes.
So, okay, we are locking that one spot there. Two left. Mohammad Siraj, sure shot.
Yeah.
Do I
Yeah.
see three yeses? I do. Okay.
Yes, yes.
I
So
think I would be
Go on.
tempted to pick Arshdeep Singh purely because he's a swing bowler. Leeds obviously is conducive to swing early in the summer in England. He's got a little bit of county experience. He's done decently well in the red ball opportunities that he's got in domestic cricket. So he did pretty well in the Duleep Trophy that he played last year, although conditions were vastly different. I know there's a bit of a perception that Arshdeep Singh is more a white ball cricketer, but I think he's built a decent body of work over time. So I think he's worth a go purely because he's got the experience, international experience behind him. He's got the body of work, performances, and I think it'll be a good time to unleash and see what he can bring to the fore. His selection will
So-
be a bit like what Bumrah was in 2018 on the tour of South Africa when he came in. Ravi Shastri said we want to unleash him at the right time. I think this would be a good time as any. So my three pacers would be Bumrah, Arshdeep, and Prasidh Krishna. Prasidh Krishna only because he's been in good form, good bowling form. He also did decently well in Australia in that Sydney test that he played. And also, if Bumrah is not going to be playing all games, then you want someone who's got some bowling load under him to kind of shoulder that workload going forward, rather than coming in fresh and having a point to prove. So that's why I'd pick Bumrah, Arshdeep, and Prasidh.
Justin?
Yeah, I mean, Bumrah and Prasidh are locks for me. Again, Prasidh on current form. And I just think that extra bounce when the batters are trying to come at you going hard, I think Prasidh will be a really good option. Siraj versus Arshdeep, I agree that Arshdeep is a very tempting choice, but I would still stick with Mohammad Siraj. I mean, he's got the experience in England. He's done pretty well there on the previous tour. And I just feel that used better, maybe in shorter spells, Siraj can still be very effective. He's had to bear a lot of the bowling in some of India's recent series. Maybe with the extra seamer there, with Shardul there, you can give Siraj slightly shorter spells and get the best out of him. So I would stick with him at least for test number one.
What about Akash Deep, who was favored by the management in Australia?
Yeah,
Nagraj?
but Gaussdeep actually, funnily enough, in Northampton, I was watching him, and when he joined, I think at some point, little after the main India squad arrived, he was having more fitness runs rather than bowling, and he did start bowling, but I think there was some sort of niggle. I'm not sure, or whether there is. I'm not entirely sure. I didn't check the scorecard whether he bowled in this warm-up game, how much he bowled, etc. He definitely on certain kind of wickets, on skiddy wickets, if it's overcast and all, Akashdeep is a better option. But I think for me, Bumrah, Siraj, Prasidh are the guys. Bumrah, no, we all agree Bumrah. Siraj only because Siraj has been the bowling leader in a way. They will look to him when Bumrah doesn't play. The other two have not much experience, and if they get injured, certainly there's always a prospect because certainly these guys are coming out of IPL. There's always that danger of carrying some niggle. So hence, Siraj I think is and the number three for me is Prasidh.
I think
What point?
Akashdeep Yash is probably competing more with Shardul for the number 8 spot. Even though he's not the batter, Shardul he at least gives you some batting. So maybe at some point of the series, if it's a really flat track and you want to go really bowling heavy, maybe you feel Akashdeep is a better bowler than Shardul. But I don't see him displacing one of the three frontline seam bowlers.
I mean, you
Yeah,
can look at the
he did
numbers
off.
that clearly saying pace 99 wickets at 25 this season at Headingley. And the temperatures are going to be around mid 20s. So I
Yeah.
seriously feel that, yeah, and considering the numbers for spinners are so weak, and the second spinner is is sort of a surplus for this. So
I
I
mean, I
think
still love the idea of Kuldeep just because of how much he troubles Stokes and Harry Brook. But I think maybe for the second test and then
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, there are games at the Oval and Birmingham where spin can play more of a role. Also worth pointing that there will be a week's gap after the first test. So, all right, we do seem fairly settled on the balance of the Indian side and wanting 6 batters and not a lot of all-rounders and wanting 4 seamers. Few debates in some positions. We will leave that to the viewers. Tell us in the comments who you think should feature in this first test at Leeds. Nagraj, Shashank, Dustin, thank you so much. This was Chatter.